Shalom Aleichem to everybody. And as usual, it's wonderful to see everybody, hear everybody, and to elevate ourselves in the lots of the Torah and the fire of the Torah, of the life of the Torah. That's what we do every Tuesday night, that we discuss something about Torah. And tonight, the name of our discussion is Middos, how character traits can make you or break you. I chose this topic tonight because of the things, the portions of the Torah that we're reading these few weeks, and they're in a way very puzzling, because it's talking about great people who sinned. And we have to understand how great people sin, and we can take a lesson for ourselves. And if they had problems cause them to sin, we certainly can have those problems to cause us to sin. So we have to think into what got them to sin the way they did, and then try to apply it to ourselves, and try to cleanse ourselves from those problems that they had. I'm referring to, we read recently about the Jews who had a desire. They're in the desert getting food from heaven, the manna they call in English, which was very, very miraculous, coming from heaven, the food that they had for 40 years in the desert. And the miracle about it was, besides other things, they could taste anything they wanted to taste in it. Somebody liked sweet potatoes, it tastes like sweet potatoes. Somebody likes turkey, it tastes like turkey. Whatever they wanted to taste like, it tasted like. And there are certain laws about how they had to handle it and so on. And they still complained about food. They wanted to have tangible food that people grow and prepare. It just seemed that they have the full thrust of the goodness of real food that they used to, their bodies used to, even though it was food from heaven, but it's something they wanted more, which God was very unhappy with. Don't make a big deal out of food, especially if you have what you want. It's tasty, it's filling, it's everything that you want, and you want more than that. You have to have the type of food that everybody, all the animals eat and people eat, and you're getting food from heaven. That's not good enough. People are not supposed to be so desirous to make a whole spiel, a whole problem about food. They're in the desert, connected to Hashem, to God. They should, thoughts should be loftier and higher than they're getting involved with the perfection of food that they wanted. And of course, God was very upset with that, or punished by that. And then that's one parsha. It's called Taiva, desirous. People desiring food. That their body, the animalistic part of them desires things. That was one portion we read about. Then we come to another portion of the spies that were sent to spy the land of Israel before they came there to fight and to take over the land. And Hashem told them, don't worry, you'll go there, I'll make miracles for you, I'll make miracles for you in Egypt, I'll make miracles for you, and when you go to the Holy Land of Israel, you don't have to worry about it. But no, they wanted to check it out. So they sent spies. Spies came back, and they had a bad report about the land. And they made up all kinds of things that they saw. I mean, they didn't make it up. They saw certain things, but they should have realized that Hashem promised to take care of them. They already defeated so many different of their enemies, great kings, that they were able to overpower. So what are you afraid of? What are you worried about? I'm going to take care of you. But they went ahead and they told the Jewish people, these 12 spies, told them, no, we're going to go there, we can't do it, they're too strong, we'll not be able to be victorious. Who are these spies? The greatest, the heads of each shevet, 12, every one tribe that they had, head of their, called their mayor, their governor. They were the greatest of some of the greatest people that Jews had in the desert. And they're the ones who came back and gave a bad report and tried to talk the Jews out of going there. They're not going to be able to overpower the enemies over there. It's unbelievable. And how could that happen? Well, we're told that the Zohar tells us, Mesilas Yesharim brings it down, that really was underlying their report and their negativism about going into the land because they were the heads of the 12 tribes, branches of the Jewish people, and they were afraid once they come to the land, the Holy Land, they might be relieved of their duties and other people might take over instead of them. So this was something that they called gaiva, person that wanted to keep up their greatness and keep up. They had a lot of honor they were given since they were the head of each branch of the Jewish people. Reuven and Shimon, they were of each shevet by the name of the 12 sons of Yaakov, and they were in charge, each in charge of his shevet. And because of their feeling of greatness, and they wanted to get all the honor of being, so therefore they didn't want to go into the land because they go to the land, there might be change for other people, and therefore they're gaiva. And then we have the next parsha of kinna, of jealousy. Korach, Korach was a great man, but he made a big problem in the Midbar, in the desert. He got all the Jews riled up against Moshe Rabbeinu, against Moses. And what was the reason he's saying? Because his cousin took over the leadership of the family that he was part of, and he felt he deserved to get that leadership because he was older than his cousin, and therefore he made a whole rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu, and he was a very great man. So what is the common denominator between these three things? Taiva is desire, gaiva of loftiness, and kinna of jealousy. They were great people. How come they stooped so low and they made problems and they argued against Moshe Rabbeinu? Because of their middos, their character traits, which are very sometimes invisible, sometimes not noticeable, but we are very much influenced in the greatest way of our middos. And sometimes our middos govern us instead of us governing them. And sometimes we don't even realize sometimes we do realize, sometimes we don't realize that really what we say something is really not what our intellect is saying, but this is what our middos are saying, what our feelings are taking over, and our middos are dictating to us how to act and how to talk. And really, it's something wrong, but we might not even notice it. A person sticking up for being upset, let's say that Korach, that his cousin took over, and say, well, it's not right, that's not fair. That I'm older than him, I'm more important than him. How could he be the one to take over instead of me? So he makes it as if it's a logical complaint, but really what's motivating it is that kind inside of the jealousy that really is motivating him. You have to realize if Hashem, God says that your cousin's supposed to be in charge, you should accept it, keep quiet, and just swallow it. And more than that, you should be very happy that you're doing what Hashem wants. But why are you complaining? No, I'm coming with a very understandable complaint. He's not next in line, I'm next in line. But really, what's behind that, what your complaint is, it's a self pride that's kinna, it's jealousy for somebody else, and therefore that is motivating you to say what you're saying, even though you think you're saying the right thing. But if you check yourself really deep, you find out that what's really bothering you is your kinna, is your jealousy, and that's causing you to come to the conclusion that you think it's a reasonable complaint that you have, and even though it really isn't, because Hashem wants it to be that way, but a person's kinna he's driven by his jealousy to say things, do things that are not proper for a person, and you're in his position, and the Jewish people. Oorah, he was a great person. He was a Levi. He had a lot of royalties that he was able to perform. It wasn't enough for him because he was jealous of. And the same thing by the other cases too. The Nesiim, the great leaders of the Shevet, they said, no, we can't go to Israel. They're too strong for us. Our enemies are stronger than the Egyptians. God took care of the Egyptians, but he's not going to take care of these people and the Holy Land. They're too strong for him to have Hashem to fight for us. And sounds like who are we? We're not warriors. We're outnumbered. We're out-armed. And how could we fight against these? What's really motivating them? It's ridiculous what they're saying. Hashem showed his power against the Egyptians, which is a very strong country. He took care of them. He'll take care of the people in Israel, kings that are ruling in the land of Israel. What are you worried about? But what's really motivating them is that their gaiva of their conceitedness and their aloofness. They want to stay and get all the honor of being in charge and being the head of everybody, of each one of their own shevet and their branch. That's really behind the scenes. That's really what's motivating them to complain and to come up with these arguments. But really, if they would take away their own middos, their own character traits, they would take their own inner desires, they would realize the truth. But we have this middos that govern us and make silly and ridiculous decisions that really don't make sense if we looked at it objectively. Middos take away our objectivity from making decisions. The same thing goes for Korach and for the Nesiim and the people who had the taiva for the food, that they wanted to eat regular food and maybe thank God for the good food that He's giving them. But whatever their argument was, but what was motivating them? The fact that they're desirous, they wanted to have the food that they wanted and not to have the food that wasn't 100% to what they wanted. So they're arguing seemingly logical complaints, but underlying that is their own agendas of they want their own honor and their own desires, and they are not working for the truth. They themselves might think of the truth. They're not realizing what's really motivating them to complain that they're complaining. So this is what we're talking. The Torah tells us this. Why is Torah telling us this? And we're talking with great people. We don't have to talk about them. What happened. Why does it have to go through all these parshas, all these portions of the Torah, of these three plus other things too? But these three we're concentrating on now. Tell us that the Jewish people, how they sinned. These people riled them up. These three people that we mentioned, they themselves were upset because motivated by false ideas, and they riled up the Jewish people against Moshe Rabbeinu. Why does it have to tell us this for? We talk good about people. Torah wants us to learn from this. Torah wants to learn that we have the same problems, and we make decisions, and they are based on our own weaknesses, our own things, our own middos, our own character traits, which are motivating us to do things and say things and think things. And that's Torah wants us to. We have to realize that we have to work on our middos. We have to control our middos, our desires, and our character traits. That we shouldn't allow them to govern us and dictate to us how we should live. We should live the way the Torah wants us to live, where Hashem wants us to live, and not allow our animal the desires to take over and mislead us in things that we should be careful about. And that is called Nikius, and the great Sefer Mesilas Yesharim we have here, we quote for so many times, the great Sefer, that book that tells us how to conduct our lives and how to be self-critical of ourselves and realize our weaknesses. And he called it Nikius, called cleanliness of personal desires. That's Nikius. Nikius can mean cleanliness of the body, but this is Nikius, cleanliness of our intellect, cleanliness of our way of thinking, that we should be able to think objectively and not subjectively. And that's exactly what they did. They were not objective, they were subjected to their desires, to what they wanted to have. And that's why they came to conclusions they concluded, which were false and against Hashem. So I want to bring out a few examples of how we are influenced by our Middos, our desires. Now let's take number one. Let's say, for instance, the first one's a desire for food. A person everybody likes good food, and some people like it more than others, but it's almost everybody, a normal, healthy person likes good food. The Torah tells us, yeah, it's okay to like good food, but you have to make it kosher food. There might be a lot of non-kosher food that's very delicious and tempting and satisfying, and any adjectives you want to use. But the Torah says that's food you're not allowed to eat. It has to be kosher food. Whether it's animals, whether it's vegetation, every food that we eat has laws connected to it. We can't eat anything that we want. So let's take a religious person, or a person who keeps kosher. But sometimes we come to a situation where we are in the midst of having an inner conflict. Should I eat that? Shouldn't I eat that? Is it kosher or not kosher? Right? You come to traveling, and you come to a restaurant, and you go inside, and you're certainly not going to order non-kosher food, God forbid. But you see the machine over there that has different types of candy in it, or chocolate in it, or whatever it might be. And you say, well, I'll put some money and take it out. I'm hungry. But is it kosher? Well, okay. So does it have a kosher sign on it? No. Well, what am I going to do? I'm very hungry. Well, let me read the ingredients. I read the ingredients. It doesn't say anything about non-kosher ingredients. So pure vegetable shortening, and everything else that seems to be kosher, so I guess it's okay. But it's not okay, because we know that products today are made by all kinds of different ingredients that are mixed with different type of non-kosher items made in non-kosher machines. And made in non-kosher machine, you're not allowed to eat it. But I'm hungry, so it's probably okay, because there's no kosher sign, but I read the ingredients, and there's nothing wrong with it. Everything's kosher, vegetable shortening, and some peanuts, and this and that. So you were tempted to go ahead and eat it. What is governing you? What is pushing you to say you're allowed to eat it? Well, intellect says it's okay because it's no kosher food. But you also know that you have to have a kosher seal on it, otherwise it might be not kosher. But the urge inside of a person who's telling him, I'm hungry and my mouth's watering for that thing, it's probably okay. Because most candy that doesn't have a kosher seal on it, if there's no ingredient seems to be kosher, most of it's kosher, so it's okay to do it. And the person goes ahead and gives into his desire, he is being controlled by his midah of desire for food. And he's not using his intellect to say, no, I'm not supposed to eat food, but I'm not 100% sure that's kosher. I'm not supposed to eat it. Well, that is what the Torah is telling us over here. The greatest people were overrun and were transgressing against what Hashem wants because of their inner feelings of desire, of covet, of honor, of whatever it might be. But the intellect is being pushed aside, and their desires are taking over, and they come to false decisions. It's not something that's without any side issues being mixed into intellectual idea what you're trying to decide on, because not being objective about it, very subjective to the desire that a person has. That's what Torah is telling us. Jew, you wonderful creation of mine, you Jewish person, you have to eat kosher. Don't let yourself be fooled by nice labels and nice looking food, and it might be all true, but if you're not 100% sure, then you got to keep away, and you can't let desires to override your intellect telling you, no, you can't eat this because we don't sound not 100% sure that's kosher. And there's so many examples of what we're talking about. It comes to being careful about stealing. This person, you steal? I steal, chas v'shalom, I wouldn't steal. Or stealing, I wouldn't go and pickpocket somebody or go and take something off the shelf and not pay for it. I've never do a thing like that. But it comes to the intricate and the little things that people consider little things. How about in your office, do you put in the full time of work that you're supposed to put in? You get paid at the end of the week. Or they're paying you for all the full-time amount of time you're supposed to work from 8 to 9 to 5? Or did you take off time to schmooze with your friends too much? Or you took a nap maybe in the meantime? Or maybe you tuned in on your cell phone and to hear the news? Did you take off time that your boss would be upset about? You're supposed to work for those hours being paid for. Well, if a person didn't put the full time in, and he takes a full check for at the end of the week, that's stealing. Because you only be paid for the time that you put in to work, that you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And by taking pay for the time that you did not use fully on your employer, that's stealing. It's not taking money from somebody's pocket, or not taking something off the shelf, but it's taking money from your boss, who expects you to put in the full time. I'm sure a little bit take off, a little coffee break, and what things that are expected, that's okay. But things that are more than expected, a little bit here, a little bit there, that is considered stealing. And how about Gesel Shina? People are sleeping maybe in an apartment house, and you have next door to you, the wall's not so thick, and they can hear noise coming from your house to their apartment to the other apartment, trying to fall asleep, and by blasting out, you like to hear music, you like to be nice and loud, keeps you awake, but it's keeping him awake too. It's called Gesel Shina, you're stealing from him as he's sleeping. And sometimes it's worse than stealing something from somebody, because if you steal something, somebody can pay him back, right? You go to a store and take something, take a bag of potato chips, and you're hungry, or you go to the fruit store and take up some grapes, and while you're looking at the fruit, you pick a grape here and then eat it, cherry there. That's stealing, and it's something you can't pay back. Person can't pay back his sleep, and you can't pay back the grape that you took. It's not going to be able to pay back to anybody. So that might be worse than taking something off the shelf which you can pay back for. But what is motivating a person to do that? Because I have desire to listen to music, or desire to hear a good speech, or so desire is intellectually say, well, now you can't do that. You can't steal from somebody to sleep. You can't take money from your boss if you didn't earn it. But you say, it's okay, how much time do I take off anyway? I'm such a good employee. I do everything I can for my boss, and I put so much heart and soul into my work. That's very good. But it doesn't make an excuse to take off time without permission. So, but the inner workings of your body telling you it's okay, it's because you just feel like eating. You feel like taking it easy. You feel like laziness. Laziness takes over, and you want to take off time, take a little rest, take a nap when the boss is not looking. So, but intellectually, you say you can't do that. You're being paid for it. You're not going to tell the boss, take off from my pay because I went to sleep for 15 minutes. But so why are you doing it? Because you're being driven and motivated by feelings of laziness or desirous or willful to get honor and doing things. How about speech, talking about things, talking lashon hara, talking slander, gossip about people. We know that it's not nice. Your intellect says don't talk gossip about people. It's not nice, and it's against the Torah. You're not supposed to speak badly about other people. It's lashon hara. So people realize he knows he can't speak lashon hara. But we all know we have that big yetzer hara, that urge to say something against somebody else, a nice juicy piece of information about somebody else that they wouldn't want anybody to know about. But by saying it, you become the popular guy. Oh, he knows all the information. Wow, that's really what's going on over there. And you feel you get a lot of attention by saying the things that wow people into hearing the news that they don't know about. So what is inner drive that's pushing you to do so? Your intellect says don't do it. It's not nice. That's your fellow worker. You like each other, you trust each other. Now you go speak, you go shouting against him because the urge for you to get honor. People will think you're the guy who knows what's going on in the world, and you have information, and you get attention. So that's your honor involved. You want to get that good feeling of people looking up to you to know what's going on. So is that going to overpower you? That you have that fight within you? So that within there, just like Nassim had, those great people who talked about before, they knew what's right, but they had the inner drive it's trying to, and sometimes we don't even notice it. Sometimes we come to conclusions of things, and our inner yetzer hara, inner character traits are pushing us to do and say what we're doing and saying, and we don't realize it. So we analyze it to see, why am I saying this? Is it right to say it? Some we have to look into ourselves and analyze ourselves why we're doing and saying and thinking certain things that we shouldn't be talking and doing about. So that's what the Torah is teaching us over here. You're not any greater than any of those people we talked about before, the Nessim, the heads of the Shvatim, of the 12 branches, Korach, which is a great man, and those people who desired the food, they were great people, but they did not control themselves not to listen to that inner drive, to the character traits pushing us to do the wrong thing. And the Torah wants us to control ourselves, self-control, that when it comes to doing a sin, even though we have the inner drive to do the sin and we have reasons in our intellect to say to do it, but Hashem says, I want you to overpower that. I want you to control yourself and don't allow yourself to do the wrong thing by being misled by your personal feelings. And not only that, but Hashem says, I want you to come to the point where not only will you not control yourself and not do what you're not supposed to do, but you should come to the point that you shouldn't want to do it anymore. You shouldn't have even drive to do it. If you do it enough times, if you have the nisayon of taking breaks from your job, we're not supposed to take breaks, and you do it over and over again, no, I won't. After a while, you won't have the feeling to do it anymore. You'll forget about it. Of course, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take a paycheck at the end of the week that you don't deserve. If you stand up to the challenge enough times, you will become immune to the whole challenge. You won't even think about it anymore. Of course, I'm not going to take off time. Of course, I'm not going to talk bad about my co-workers that I'm working with, that we're friendly, and I'm going to behind his back say gossip about him. Ugh, it'll be disgusting. But if you don't control yourself, you do it, you'll keep doing it again and again. But if you control yourself once, twice, 10 times, you'll come to the point where, no, I wouldn't even think about talking bad about a person. Hodem Nefel plus person becomes what you do. If you do a thing enough times, you become that what you're doing. You'll become a person who won't talk bad about people, won't even want desire to have something that doesn't have kosher sign on it. I wouldn't think about it. Won't even be a challenge. If you have enough times, you see that nice piece of food and it does not have a hechsher, doesn't have a rabbinical seal. First times it's hard, you overcome it. But if you do it over and over again, it won't even be a challenge anymore. It'll be such a simple thing, such a logical, understandable thing. You're not going to even think about eating something not kosher because it seems to be kosher. Kosher ingredients, all that kind of the Sahara talks us into, or inner feelings, or character traits are pushing us, desires for food and for honor and for laziness, all things that are driving us to do the wrong thing. If we work on ourselves enough times, they will become null and void. We won't have the challenge anymore. Of course, other challenges always come up. That's what we're in this world for, to overcome challenges. But it becomes easier and easier, generally speaking. So this is the Torah is telling us about the sins of these great people. They did things they shouldn't have done. They said things they shouldn't have said. And what was driving them, the inner feelings, drives of a person's the animalistic makeup that we're made out of, drives us to do things against the Torah, and that's when this world for to stand up to the challenge. If we do stand up to the challenge enough times, it'll become easier and easier to be able to refuse to even think about doing something wrong. So this is something very important when we learn the stories about these great people. It's not just the story to learn and forget. It's something that Torah wants us to think about. If they fell in the challenge, then we certainly can fall in that challenge, and we have to think about, we have to stand up and do the right thing, even though it's not easy, but we have to listen to the word of Hashem. That's what we're in this world for. And if we do it enough times, it'll become easier and easier.